Hello, welcome to a sensitive story. Wait until the end and see what I've been through. I did not think in any way that a simple incident would cause me such a terrible experience. It was after a quiet December. Nothing seems a time. I had spent the morning trying on my new miniskirts and doing my chores, but my body felt healthy. I was no longer getting younger, and it was about to rest a November muscle in my body. I quickly put on my pajamas, sent my husband Albert to work, and was just about to go to sleep when my nephew Tom knocked on the door. Tom had become a handsome young man at the age of 24, and something had changed about him. It was not obvious, but I continued to study the gaze for a long time. It was a deep look that I could not fully understand. It was no different from the quiet of flowers, a type of people, and the departure of at least one of them today. "Aunt Olivia, you look tired," said Tom as he came in, his voice kind but warm. "Is there anything that can help you?" I was sleepy, but I accepted. A little smile formed on his face. "If you don't mind, a back massage might be perfect." He asked for a moment as if he was thinking about something, then shook his head, of course. He wanted me to show continuity exactly where. Tom sat behind me. He was massaging me hard, pressing his fingers hard. But why? Sometimes he looks at me. Sometimes it's like he's trying to send me a message. After he started pressing his hands very hard, we worked for a moment, ignoring the length of the room. But when his fingers moved decently down the side of his back, I realized that Tom had crossed the line. How I used at that moment, but I was very bad. Tom's voice was coming out less now, almost in a whisper. He was so close to me that the warmth of his breath was in line with my neck. I nodded, but my skin was by no means comfortable. Something was telling me to get away, but I didn't. Then Tom said that something had happened. "You were very strong, Aunt Olivia." I was so impressed by his words that I froze for a while. With Tom's fingers hovering around my waist, I should have felt my heartbeat quickening in his chest. I tried not to care about the mess swirling in my chest. I told myself I was talking too much, but his touch became extraordinary. His palms pressed deeper. He was showing more sincere movements. My pulses starting to beat, and I preferred not to say anything. Every once in a while, they think about whether Tom will take his arms somewhere else. "Deck, let me take care of you for once." I shook my head. I'm going to do what else I'm going to do. Part of me wanted to block him, to tell him that it wasn't right. But I wanted to continue the other side of me. I would like to be the person who constantly says no, refuses a donation when something is offered. I believed his words for a moment, but then something changed. His hands moved downward on me again, touching the areas that worried me. My skin shuddered at his touch, and it was so badly done. Was I imagining it, or had Tom crossed the line? "Aunt Olivia, do you think wrong?" Tom's voice is almost like a whisper now, and I should have felt him leaning closer, his breath on my neck. I was overcome with excitement, and I knew what to do. I felt his presence so intense that it was as if there were lights that we made for each other. "You've always been very impressive," he said calmly. My thoughts went dark. His sentences are echoing in your ears, and I can't understand them fast enough. What was he saying? What could have happened? We tried to get away, but Tom had plenty of insides, spread out behind them, and let me get up. I saw that there was excitement around you in some way, and that your different dreams could be seen. In order not to miss my memories, click on the subscribe button to like the video and learn more about their lifestyle. Something had changed, and I felt like I was in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I could feel the tension building between us, and it was suffocating me. Deck, another short time passed. I didn't know what to do. Then, as if he sensed my complaint, Tom decided for both of them. He moved his head towards me with a touch. His wings lightly touched my ear. His words sent a chill through the whole body. "Don't worry, Aunt Olivia. I will not harm you." But there was something in his voice that seemed to scare me. I didn't know how Tom's breath that touched his ear could hiss, but he couldn't change the reaction. The environment had changed, and I couldn't say anything to him about this incident. It was as if time had stopped, as if the room had closed in on us and left no way out. I wasn't sure if I was trying to believe that the situation hadn't changed, or if I was numb to this overwhelming tension. My body was stretched. It was fighting against my mind, but it doesn't matter. His touch was so insistent, so commanding. Taking a shallow breath, I tried the connections between them decently. "Tom, what are you standing for?" I managed to say, but my voice was shaking. This order was not just a request, but he did not stop. He was hardly startled. Instead, his hand slid down my back, down the curve of my spine, until his fingertips touched the waistband of the red extreme mini skirt he was wearing. I wanted to scream and beg, but I couldn't say anything. I could draw the deliberate behavior of his fingers. His touch was almost hypnotizing. "Aunt Olivia," Tom whispered again. His voice was low and full of something unknown. "You deserve to feel good. You've always been so strong for everyone else. Don't you want to feel good about yourself?" I wanted to throw it to get him away, but he froze my body. It was as if I was trapped in my own world, freed from the domination he had placed over me not only physically, but also emotionally. My mind was forcing me to go outside, to put an end to this madness. We find the power to pull back, and the words. With Tom's hands hovering over my back, things got even more out of hand this time. He said such nice compliments to me that I can't tell. He told me so many beautiful, liberating times. She was always beautiful. You don't have to hide this. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't face it the whole time, but I could feel my reaction. I could feel the eyes watching your breath. It's like something is driving. It's driving me to surrender. Long-term built-in processes are expected to run out. I cannot deny the charm of his presence. There was something about the way he talked to me, the way he touched me, that made me push him away. My mind and my parasite were struggling to keep me afloat. But then, just as he started, Jackson stopped. He pulled his hands away, and the tension in the room subsided in an instant. I couldn't take a breath. My chest was clenched. I was united. It fell apart. I turned my face to him. There was a greatness and bewilderment in my eyes. I was looking for a sign, a look in the expression of his face, but there was nothing. He just had a calm and cool point of view, and that made it even more unsettling. Jackson was walking, his face relaxed as if nothing had happened. "Are you all right, Aunt Olivia?" I shook my head. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure what parts. Sure I wasn't, because they were just living. It wasn't plausible at all. Why did I let this happen? I was decently hiding there, my mind working by piecing together the contents of what had just happened. I was stunned by the sudden change in Jackson's behavior, his calmness, the way he acted as if nothing had changed. I should have told him to leave, never to come back, but I couldn't. There was a strange feeling of guilt gnawing at me, as if she was allowing herself to be allowed to hide something. And now I couldn't make sense of it. "Are you sure you're okay, Aunt Olivia?" Tom asked, his voice sincere, as if he lacked nothing. He was playing with me, and it made me feel sick. I wanted to explain everything, the discomfort, the confusion, the disgust, but the words got knotted in my throat. "Yes, I'm fine. I finally managed to tell you. I needed to get away from him. I shouldn't have left that room." But it seemed that Tom's work was not finished. I saw it in his eyes, those characteristic signs of predation that existed before. His presence was almost too much to bear. I put on her folds to look confident. I covered my back, but when I was wide enough for the door, Tom's knitting in front of me cut my way. Aunt Olivia's voice was low, almost persuasive, but there was something darker hidden beneath the surface. "You know, you don't have to act like everything's okay. You can talk to me. I'm here for you." I did not stay long, but his hand lightly grasped my wrist. His contact was light, but he made a big impression inside. Not daring to meet his eyes, he looked at his hand, and his heart was beating fast. I wanted to tell him to quit, to stay away from me, but my relationship broke up. It was like I was frozen. "There will be nothing left of me," she continued, her thumb gently stroking across my skin. "She knows you're stressed, Aunt Olivia. I can help you. Together we can tell you better. It doesn't have to be this hard." I wanted to step back to push him, but his grip tightened enough to make me feel it. Enough to make me doubt myself. I could feel my skin turning red, that her body might betray me in a way I couldn't understand. Even the sweat was running down my forehead. I whispered Tom, my voice was shaking. "Please let go." One just stood there. His gaze was locked on mine, as if he was measuring me, reading me. I could feel the tension in the air, intense and suffocating, as if everything was swaying in the middle of something I didn't want to admit. "Don't worry, Aunt Olivia," he said softly. "I'm just here to help, and it always will be." This sent a chill through me. I had a hard time when he passed by me. My heart was still pounding, but when I reached the door, he heard him speak one last time. "You can't escape this. You will come back to me. I know you'll be back." He was caught from behind the door, but his words remained in my mind like a reflection, a promise that I was not sure he could escape. I couldn't get rid of Tom's words. He was coming back. Me, your words were repeating in my mind like a broken record. What did he mean by that? What was he trying to make me feel? I knew I had to get away, but every time I thought I had taken control, I found myself in an even deeper confusion. I woke up early the next morning and couldn't sleep. The way Jackson touched me, the way his words gave me goosebumps, and at the same time made me feel strangely vulnerable, were on my mind. I tried to tell myself that it was nothing. Maybe it was a strange misunderstanding, a moment of weakness, but deep down I knew better. As we walked towards the kitchen, I almost wished Tom had stayed away, but when I saw him sitting at the breakfast table, his eyes met mine with an uncomfortable calm. It was as if he knew everything, as if he was waiting for me to confront him with whatever it was. "Good morning, Olivia." "Yes, you didn't hear that wrong." She didn't say auntie this time. Things were getting nasty. Tom greeted me with a warm smile. I couldn't bring myself to answer immediately. I just shook my head and tried to act like nothing had happened. I went to the counter to prepare coffee, but my hands were shaking. Still, I could feel his gaze on me, and it made everything feel so tight, so real. "You seemed a little seedy last night," he said, his voice relaxed, as if he was trying to take what had happened for granted. "Everything all right?" I didn't know how to answer. How could I have said no? "Nothing's all right. You crossed the line, and now I can't look at you the same way again." I couldn't look. I couldn't find the words. "I'm fine," I said, straining the words. I turned towards him and met his gaze, trying to project strength. "I'm just tired." Tom did not immediately respond to this. He just looked at me as if he was studying me. His expression was unintelligible. Then he put on the same uncomfortable smile, as if nothing had changed. "You don't have to be so serious all the time," she said, her voice soft. "I just want you to feel better, Olivia. You deserve this, don't you?" There was a sickening sweetness in her tone, as if she were trying to soften the manipulation, to look as if she were worried, but I knew better. I felt a chill down my spine. My instincts were screaming at me to run away. "I'm fine, Tom," I repeated. This time I said it more loudly and with a harsh expression. I didn't want to show him how impressed I was, that even just his presence made me question everything. I picked up my coffee cup and walked towards the living room. I needed space, distance, but Tom wouldn't let me go that easily. He followed me, stood in the December doorway. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were intense. "You cannot hide from this, my Olivia," he said. His voice was low, now almost like a whisper. "I know you felt something last night and you wanted more." I froze. The weight of his words fell on me. My pulse has accelerated. My mind raced to find an answer, a way to deny what he was suggesting, but nothing came of it. I don't want to hear this," I said. My voice was shaking despite all my efforts. "You have to go." Tom's eyes went dark for a moment, but then he let out a soft chuckle, as if he was enjoying every second of my discomfort. "You can't run away from this, dear," he said. "Whether you like it or not, we're connected now." And when it was day, he asked me to put on my best mini meat and crop in the morning. In the morning, I had to do what they said because when I got up, the other clothes in my closet were wet. I couldn't stand this suffocating tension any longer. My head was spinning, my heart was thumping in my chest. It wasn't something I could ignore anymore, but could I really stand up to him? Could I have gotten rid of pressure he was putting on me? Just as I was about to answer, I heard the front door open. My heart started pounding. It was my husband Albert who came from work. I was suddenly overcome with relief. But at the same time it was mixed with fear. What if he noticed the tension between us? Deck. What if he's already figured it out? "Hey guys," Albert said, looking between us, as if there was a little concern in his eyes. "Deck." I barely managed to smile. "Yes, everything is fine. Everything is fine." I said it trying to look normal, but I knew I was lying, and Albert could feel it because he knew me so well. He approached, looking first at Tom and then at me. "Are you sure? You both look a little strange." Tom was the first to answer, his voice smooth, his face a mask of open innocence. "It's all right, Uncle Albert. I was talking to Aunt Olivia. It's a little stressful, but nothing serious." My husband shook his head, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. It was like he knew something wasn't right. His feelings were really strong, and for the first time, I felt trapped in every way. Tom's influence on me was getting tighter and tighter, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Days after that morning were like a blur. I couldn't get rid of the feeling that Tom's eyes were following me. His words were echoing in my head. Whether you like it or not, we were connected now. And what would have happened if my husband had seen him when Tom was approaching me? It gets very interesting after that. I got goosebumps every time I saw him, but I couldn't get away from him. He was everywhere, acting like there was nothing wrong. He was smiling at me with that annoying calmness, and all I could do was respond with a hard, forced smile. I started running away from him. I found excuses to leave the house. I spent long hours at work. I was starting to come home late now. But no matter how much I tried to keep myself away, I could still feel him in the corners of my mind. One evening, when I came home late from a meeting, everything fell apart. I opened the door of the house expecting the usual silence, but this time something was different. The lights were dimmed, the sound of the TV was filling the atmosphere, and I immediately felt an uneasiness in my chest. I stepped into the living room, and there he was. Tom was sitting on the couch. His posture was relaxed, but the moment I walked in, his eyes locked on mine, cold and as if he had come to get an account. "Olivia, you came home late," he said. There was something in his voice that I couldn't quite make out. I suddenly froze, realizing how lonely we were at home. Albert had worked late at night, and I was alone with Tom again. I told myself that I should have felt relieved, but instead, the air seemed dense and stifling. I had to finish some work, I stuttered, trying to keep my voice steady. Tom didn't move at all. He just looked at me in the same annoying way. "You don't have to pretend, Aunt Olivia. I know that things are difficult between us." My breath knotted in my throat. My heart was beating fast, but I stood still. I was too scared to turn around. "What do you want to say?" He smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was a smile that gave me goosebumps, a smile that made me feel like prey, trapped and exposed. "I know what you're really thinking," she said, her voice low and almost sarcastic. "You've been avoiding me, haven't you? You're afraid of what we've done. You're afraid of what we might do again. But you can't run away forever." "Damn it," he said. "I am here and I will always be here." Suddenly, when I heard those words, I felt my pulse increase again. I had to get out of here. I should have left before I went any further. But when I took a step back, Tom was already standing in front of me, blocking my way. His body was close, very close, and I could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Olivia," he said softly, his voice suddenly soft, almost soothing. "You don't have to fight this. You don't have to keep pretending. I know how much you need this, how much you want it." I wanted to push him, scream, call for help, but I couldn't. I froze for a moment, and at that moment, I heard a clicking sound coming from the other room. I immediately sat down on the seat and carried on as if nothing had happened. Fortunately, Albert had gone to the toilet. I was relieved for a moment, but I didn't realize what was going to happen. Tom came to me again, and we got close, and for a moment, just for a moment, I almost believed him. My heart was beating fast. My mind was full of conflicting thoughts. Could I have trusted him? Was I really being manipulated, or was there something too weak in me to resist? Suddenly, the sound of the front door opening broke the silence. It was Albert who came. Tom quickly retreated. His expression instantly changed, and his face had become as innocent as ever. However, what he felt inside was not like that at all. "I was talking to Aunt Olivia," she said in a soft voice. Her voice was relaxed as usual. "There's nothing to worry about." Albert realized that something was going on and directly threw Tom out of the door. I was done, and it was all because of him. It wasn't all over. I knew that now. He wasn't going to stop. I haven't spoken to him since that day, but he was still after me. Please guess the rest in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like it. Goodbye. I love you.